I know how we could start the show. PMAC, are you hear the horrible news?
Did Matt Duchene get hurt?
No, for the first...
We get a lot of shots. Everybody come to the net. We just have to get more and more pucks to the net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net.
Pucks on net. Pucks on net. Pucks on net.
Continue to put pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
Well, that's the key. We got to get the puck on net.
Pucks on net and driving it, making it a hard night on it.
Live on tape from Geeta's apartment, her palatial estate on the 23rd floor. There are 3 individual mute buttons I forgot to press because I was busy shuffling paper.
Won't there be a really long pause there with low music?
Yeah, I'll leave it in for kicks. It's unique. It's something new.
Ryan hates editing.
It's like we've not done this before.
I just got a text from Dave saying, "Are we doing this? I want to go to bed." To which I laughed. I'm like,
"No, you don't."
10 p.m. He wants to go to bed. Live on tape from Geeta's apartment, her palatial estate on the 23rd floor. This is Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast. It doesn't talk about fantasy or fancy stats. Yerky21 once described our intro as a living tree because I always update it as the seasons go on. And so there was that video last week that came out by the Canucks about how to properly pronounce Elias Pettersson's name. And me...
Pettersson.
And the first thing I noticed was, oh shit, Brock Besser says pucks on net at the start of the clip. So I had to go back and get that. That's where my mind is.
Nice.
My name is Ryan Schapp. I'll be the...
How do you pronounce that?
Well, it's funny.
It's actually shop.
If I was to use my Dutch native or family tongue, it'd be like Schaap. And I'm not joking. It's like my Oma has about 7 different names I don't know how to pronounce.
Okay, it's like I'm Geetanjali ready.
Yeah. The co-host riding shotgun. She owns this joint. That's Geeta. And PMAC on the
PMAC over here. Paul. That's how you see my name.
Bull McClellan.
Aye, lad.
So we've had 2 days to sleep after the horrible incident that was Saturday night, which we'll get right into as soon as I...
We're basically like the last group of people left to discuss this.
Well, we've waited everything out. Yeah. We've seen We've seen
everybody else's dumb opinions.
Yeah, Eric Francis shooting his mouth off.
Jason Strudwick's tweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we giving out a pizza tonight for somebody's bad take on Eric Francis or something?
The finishing maneuver of Eric Francis's career for being disrespectful on Twitter regarding concussions. What are we going to call that last tweet?
We'll just call it an Eric Francis.
Oh,
from now on, people shoot themselves in the foot by trying to be funny, which, I mean, granted, we do a lot. We'll call it an Eric Francis.
It's like Ryan said to me last night. He doesn't have friends in real life to stop him.
That's true. Eric Francis, he probably just works with himself. He doesn't have somebody say, should we do this? Should we put this out? Is this going to work? No. I want to thank you for joining us, wherever you guys from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PucksOnNetCA or PucksNetCa. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can head on over to patreon.com/PucksOnNet, where you can pledge a couple of bucks. How much?
Like $2. I mean, $5.
Yeah, that's right.
We should probably give people context because we're just throwing out names. Eric Francis, inappropriate tweet regarding the Elias Pettersson.
He used
injury.
He used to work for the Calgary Sun, and now he works for Sportsnet Radio out in Cowtown, out in the Bush League and the Boondogs there.
Tweeted making light of Pettersson's injury and was giving out a pizza to the person to come up with a best nickname for the Matheson move that he used on Pettersson to give him a concussion.
That's gross.
Well, listen, all being offended aside, I'm curious what the winning prize was, or what the winning entry was. If it was funny, or if it was just downright mean.
Most of the responses in the tweet for the award were telling him that he was a garbage person for making light of somebody's, especially a 19-year-old's head injury at the hands of a fellow player. Anyway, as I skimmed through, didn't see a whole lot of name suggestions.
Well, I feel with a segment that is going to be hotly contested and opinionated, we should call Dave.
Okay.
And I'm going to do let me just dial him up here.
So we can talk about the Oshawa Generals.
Yeah, all Generals all the time. So something
happened.
Something happened on Saturday night, and I don't know how each of us feel about this. I'm glad that we've waited until Monday evening, where
the dust is settled,
so we can digest this a little bit.
Dust has settled. Suspensions have thankfully been doled out, and the most surprising type of people have gone in to chime in and dissect the play on social media. And I think that from what my opinion of this started out being, it wasn't too bad. And then once Danny Carcillo, Car Bomb of all people, is describing how malicious and dangerous of a play it is, it really starts to make you think.
Okay, was the suspension enough?
I think a 2-game suspension, in my opinion, I'm okay with it. I personally thought that there would just be a fine. I thought that the NHL would look at this because you never see plays like this. It's always really quick. Like kind of elbows to the head. It's fast open ice checks, and it's never like this is something we haven't seen in a while. So I really thought that they would just kind of just give him a fine, if that, just strictly because of the injury. And I'll let Dave go on this first.
Well, the thing that I was disappointed the most was the lack of response from the team, and this is a story that is getting a lot of play in the media, but. I know I'm not asking for the Todd Bertuzzi thing. People are going to extremes on this argument where it's like either we break the guy's neck or we do nothing, and those are the only two things to be done about it. And that's just simply not true. Like, I liked what you said on Twitter, Ryan, where you were like, can somebody just get in the guy's face? Like, nothing?
Send a message. Like if your teammate, if your friend is down, you let it be known that that's not okay, and you're not going to let that happen. And even if there wasn't, like, this is the whole violence in hockey, and where Pettersson just got a concussion, and you don't want this to be about giving somebody else a concussion. Like if Virtanen just went up and got in his face and mean mugged him and said stood up for the team, I think the conversation would be completely different.
Or we go take a run at Huberdeau or Barkov.
And then you're getting into a whole conversation of what's right and what's wrong and fighting fire with fire. But yeah, it was silent. It was nothing, and it was just kind of unfortunate. And
I was going to say there's a little bit came after the fact. I think Travis Green reiterated that this morning in some interviews. He said the bench and the other Canucks players, because it wasn't really a late hit, but it was right at the end of the possession. The direction
it was behind the play.
The direction the puck was moving. No one really knew what happened, and when the hit went down, initially they just look back and they see Pettersson down. And I think I was listening to the game on the radio. I was driving home from Seattle when it happened, got home late that night, watched it a few times, just saw the one replay angle that was online. If a lot of players were watching it, even on the Jumbotron or at the bench on their iPads, if you're watching it at full speed, it doesn't look as malicious maybe as it does when you slow it down and see there's a bit of a can opener there. And the slam is definitely more intentional. It's not just a follow through. So I'm not trying to give them a 100% off. I would have liked to see more of that. Just getting in his face anyway, talking about next game or whatever.
He had 5 more shifts after that, and no one did a goddamn thing.
But what I'm saying is Travis Green said even till the end of the game, a lot of the guys were like, what happened? And they're in the middle of a tie game, worried about coming back from that. So I want to see more. If I was out there and saw it happen as a player, I would like to think I would have rushed over, but at the same time, I don't think it's as bad as some people have made it out to be, that they didn't do something right away.
And no one seemed angry after the fact.
They should be furious. There should be sticks from the bench on the ice. You got to go full nuclear winter on this thing. Like, what? 2 points? What, are they trying to make the fucking playoffs? Are you serious? Are you trying to win the hockey game? We don't want to win the hockey game.
That's what Roussel said, I think, today in the media. It's like, you kind of, what's that retribution that's only going to last a week? But if we piss that game away, that could be our chance at the playoffs.
I'll take 15. Yeah, playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs? I'll take 15 years of Brock Besser and Elias Pettersson getting the room that they need to maneuver over, missing missing a chance to finish 8th and get blown out of the water by Winnipeg in April.
Yeah. One thing, and what's so strange about this is that, he was retaliating for being embarrassed, out-deked, which is just, I've never seen this level of
pettiness.
Yeah, and I understand. He went in it was a bit of an interference.
Not pettiness, nah.
Pettersson. And I totally get where he's coming from, and he was embarrassed. And if he had gone over and just kind of stiff-armed him off the puck and left him on his wallet, hey, man, there's bigger people than you out here, look out, that's fine. But it's just this push right down into the ice in a rock bottom way that just kind of gross.
Is he a dirty player?
I don't think so.
He doesn't have a history of any reviews.
Well, and that's the thing. He's put himself on the map.
Yeah.
He's Brandon Manning.
He's a gritty guy. I guess the conversation comes down to people who wanted some kind of fight, some kind of comeback from the Canucks side of things, but Matheson's the type of guy that would probably be totally fine dropping the gloves. I don't think that discourages him from doing that.
Yeah, but
in
Paul,
the future,
you're missing the bigger picture here, though. You're missing the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is about, sending a message out there to the other teams in the league and the other players that if you try anything like this on these guys, it's not going to go unnoticed. It's not going to go unanswered. It's about establishing a level of protection for these guys, and also bonding as a team. Nothing brings a team together more than an incident like this when it's handled correctly. You've seen this before in the NHL several times where players get run and teams stick up for them and they rally around it. There's a history of that in this league, and I feel like the Canucks early in the season here have missed out on an opportunity to bond and to form an allegiance, aside from banning the video game systems.
I agree, because that probably would have gone a longer way than the 2 points that they got that Saturday night.
No, I totally agree. And if let's say it's Jay Beagle, who before he got hurt, who we're all kind of as fans.
Oh, who's Jay Beagle?
Exactly. He had a good time here. If Jay Beagle,
I guess that's done.
If Jay Beagle was the guy that went on the ice the next shift or the next time Matheson went out there and stood up for him, Canuck fans would have a completely different viewpoint on this guy.
I know, but they pay him like a superstar.
And what did they pay? And what did they pay him to do to be hard to play against and protect the young kids?
And that's the thing. That's the thing that has turned the fans off more. We're more upset with this team, than we are with Matheson.
No, I agree with that, Geeta. Totally, I totally agree with that.
And a player is going to act emotionally for getting embarrassed, and it's unfortunate how he fell, but it's just the reaction that just irks me. And I just
all the goodwill from the first 2 weeks is gone that they've had. Now the whole city thinks they're all a bunch of pussies.
They just want to get those 2 points.
Yeah, fuck, whatever. Just disgusted. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm just
he sees me pointing.
There's so much I've been waiting for, and then Ryan gave my turn to Geeta. So I'm first of all, Jay Beagle, defensively, has taken a lot of the pressure and mantle off of one Brandon Sutter, who a lot of people are also very critical of for being overpaid as a checking line center. And I think
he's a cornerstone piece.
Underrated bottom six guy that him and Pettersson collectively have given the Canucks centers offensively and defensively that have attributed to a slightly better than expected start to the season. So I don't want to throw Beagle totally under the bus, and I don't think he's necessarily been brought in for his fighting expert. He's a gritty player, but he's not the type of, he's not an enforcer. So
he's gritty, but he's no gritty.
I've been using that word a lot tonight. I was waiting for somebody to bring the mascot up. We
got a title of the episode. It's called True Grit.
Oh!
True Gritty, probably.
Yeah, both.
True Gritty.
He's gritty, but he's not gritty.
If somebody touched Claude Giroux, Gritty would climb over the glass and beat the tar out of him.
Yeah. Finn would just give a presentation on some sort of ocean-wise symposium.
Don't buy farm salmon. Here comes Gritty with a sack of batteries.
But that represents these two teams exactly, to a T.
Exactly. One's a bully and one's really concerned about the shoreline.
I'm trying to remember what the actual point was here. We were going at
Finn's not available for appearances. He's busy painting bike lanes.
Building, and we did get to this, so I'm glad we did. But yeah, building team camaraderie and trust in one another is more important, I think, when it comes to the pushback element of this situation.
Totally.
When you started out talking about, people are going to come and go after our stars now if we don't fight them in that game. And honestly, in hockey, it doesn't matter one way or the other, I think, when you show that pushback or whatever. One way, we can push them around, but the other way is like, we go after their stars, we know they're off, we throw them off their game. Mm-hmm. Like, these types of players that play that type of game and go after opposing players to injure them aren't going to be intimidated by other rough. If the game turns into a giant free-for-all battle, that is better for them, because when the Petterssons are playing offense and the referees are calling the game as they should,
if I can come into Rogers,
then they're not effective. But if they're allowed for violence to take over,
but then I'll just push him around illegally.
Okay, but what does the fake Pettersson think of his teammates?
You know what? He talked about how happy he was, and he had that great moment when he scored his first goal, and he was so happy to share this with his teammates, and they applauded him before they let the media in. And now they're going, man, well, Petey, like, you're really good, but those 2 points are just a little bit more important than us avenging yourself.
Yeah, you're right. And there, the other thing side of this, just to Paul's argument, is, as I didn't play in the NHL, but I played hockey. I still play hockey. I was an agitator for a long time. I was a little shit up.
Get out of here. What are you talking about?
And I used to run at the best players on the team all the time. That was pretty much the first thing I would do when I was playing, was just to, literally find who the key guy is on the other team and then try to throw him off his game. But what I can tell you is, if I knew that there was somebody on their bench who was going to set me straight and maybe take a run at me for doing it, I thought twice about it. It is effective. It really is on that level. Like, as somebody who plays the game, if you know that there's somebody out there who's going to hold you accountable to your actions, you do think twice. That is a real thing. Please do not discount that for a second.
You think twice, but did it stop you?
Yes, sometimes. When I knew I was going to get the shit kicked out of me, absolutely it stopped me.
The point I was leading up to is what it comes to.
It hurts, Paulie. It hurts.
What I was getting to is the ideal would be that the NHL on the ice, in the game, in the moment, penalizes players correctly, and also probably increases the potential for suspension and dollars lost for these players, because that's going to motivate them more.
No, but you're forgetting one thing, Paul, that they're not. These guys aren't in fucking Mensa. A lot of them are pretty stupid, and they don't care about the money. Honestly, I'll close my argument with this, and then I'll let you go longer on this take. But I want to look at a guy like Wayne Gretzky, who was about the same height and weight as little Elias, and he played for 20 years and only missed a handful of games. You want to know how he did that? He had bodyguards. He had guys like Dave Semenko and McSorley, who most of the time didn't have to fight. Just the other players out there knew that if they fucked with Gretzky, they were going to get a stick upside the head. That is a real thing.
That's one that it is. Yeah, and it is, and it's a dusty point, but it's also a fair point. But my thing is like, there's players in the league right now that, like, They don't play the game hard. They play a skilled game, and you respect them with their skilled game. Like Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid's not going into the scrums and complaining like Sidney Crosby. He's playing a skilled offensive game, and he seems to have a lot of respect with his outside situation with Brandon Manning. And now, like, Elias Pettersson weighs 104 pounds. Like, Geeta, you could probably beat him in a way off, and because 105 and.
Good save.
Yeah, right. And
that's the save of the week right there.
But he's not going out there to cause a ruckus. So, like, for the most part, the players that do that don't get, manhandled like that. But this was a rare case where Matheson was embarrassed and went against that, and that's the part I don't like. Like,
I think we can all agree on that point, that it was disrespectful to the game what he did. I think all four of us can agree to that it was uncalled for. It wasn't provoked. It was chicken shit and childish. He got embarrassed because he got his shorts deked out of him.
Yep.
Get over it, bud.
That's fair.
Yep.
You had one more point you wanted to make before we booted you off to bedtime.
Yeah, just on a positive note.
Whoa, wait, what?
It's because we've been pretty hard on the old Knuckleheads in this last 10 minutes, considering they've won their last couple games on the road, which was rare last year. Mm-hmm. There's a guy who has an opportunity to save his NHL career, but he needs to keep it up and stay consistent because he didn't have a great preseason, although he really was spinning that World Championship win into something that's Anders Nielsen has a real opportunity here to salvage his NHL career because right now everybody's going, he's just going to go to the minors next year when Demko comes in. I know a team will pick him up. Whether his future is in Vancouver or not, if he can continue to play well, not even well, consistently, and bring the kind of goaltending he's brought the last couple games, or at least some semblance of that, he could steal the net right now pretty easily from Markstrom and make himself a legitimate NHL goalie. His future and his destiny are completely in his hands, and I'm kind of rooting for the guy. I hope he does it.
I was rooting for him after the third or the first or second shot on goal games that Markstrom had and just looked sloppy. And they gave him a chance, and he took it, and he beat the goddamn Tampa Bay Lightning, and that
on the road
with that defense. Like, have you seen that defense?
It's not a defense.
It's a bunch of guys.
it's the Maginot Line.
It'll be interesting.
You go around them.
Be interesting to see if he can keep it up because remember last year he started out with two
shutouts
in his first 3 games, looked fantastic, and then came down to earth a little bit. Part of that was he wasn't playing a lot of games, I think, whether it's confidence or rest that comes into play with that.
Fair.
But I mean, remember who gave the scouting report to the Swedish national team to get Nilsson to be their starting goalie at the World Championships last year? This guy over here.
So actually, Paul saved his career.
Yeah.
I helped out with that, but I basically, when Nilsson's on his game, he's a pretty good goalie, but he seems to be a little bit more erratic, kind of Luongo-like in some ways, where like if he's on, I'm not saying he's at that level, but in the sense of the ups and downs. And Markstrom's probably, what you see is what you get. There's a little bit of ups and downs, but if you get Nilsson the right couple of weeks.
He's Moxie's food. He's painfully average. He's a Milestones dinner on a Thursday.
Yeah. If Nilsson can get some momentum here and they give him the net, which I'm sure they will.
I think it's his, at least for the rest of the week.
It'll be interesting to see how long he can keep this up.
There is one. Go on, Dave.
I know Paul makes a really good point. I bet if you go back and listen to last year's podcast, I probably said the same thing about it.
I will close on this. Petey is in good hands because he is in there. The Canucks are in Pittsburgh right now, and the finest concussion doctors in the world are in Pittsburgh.
That's encouraging too. The fact that he's still that he traveled means that maybe it's like it's a Diet Coke of concussions.
Well, that's a good point. And the other thing is the Canucks haven't outright said it's a concussion. That he's in concussion protocol.
Okay.
So take what you will from that, but there is a silver lining, I guess. But
Eric Lindros was in concussion protocol for the Philadelphia Flyers for like 10 years. Now he can't even say silver lining. So there you go. I'll leave you on that note.
All right. Well, we'll leave Dave on that note. Pleasure talking to you, bud.
Bye. Good night.
Yeah, you too. It's late here. I'm going to bed.
It's 10 p.m. there.
Yeah, but if you get up at like 5:30 in the morning.
Dave's the oldest member of the podcast. Give him a break, Ryan.
No, he's not.
No. I wouldn't have guessed.
First the weight thing and now this. 105 pounds. Come on.
I'm not dead.
Your birthday's in... Oh my God. We gotta talk about this. So,
are we done with Pettersson?
We're going to segue from Pettersson and do the other thing.
Into something terribly... not relevant.
We were joking about how...
we were joking about our 200th episode is going to be bigger than anything Rexall Place has ever seen before.
Yeah, so Geeta gave the official tagline for episode 200 as bigger, longer, and wetter. And it was because there'd be so many tears like a Rexall Place.
It's getting a little emotional.
Yeah.
All the things we've been through in the last 200 weeks.
Has Ryan Smith come into the podcast?
Well, we started joking about Ryan Smith, and we were laughing about him, making fun, because he's always crying. And then...
Did he really cry that much? I feel like it was just like once or twice. And We've been jerks about it ever since.
We've taken it to an extreme.
Listen, pal, if you don't want to have a nickname of Crying Ryan, you shouldn't be crying at very emotional times in your life.
Nevertheless, I'm also very emotional.
And then Geeta did a little Googling.
So I said, I wonder if Ryan Smith is also a Pisces. He's very sensitive.
And?
Turns out his birthday is 2 days after mine.
We're practically twins.
We are probably of the very same temperament.
Those stars aligning. You know how much faith I have in space magic.
You love
astrology?
Yeah,
space
that thing.
Magic.
Space
Okay, Doctor Who.
That's pretty damn funny.
Timey-wimey, Geeta. Timey-wimey.
So the other thing that's very fat... listen.
Very fat?
Very fat. Besides you and Ryan Smith. From the tears.
How many more shots are you going to take at me?
I said you weighed a cool 105 pounds.
Ryan, you better watch yourself.
You're going to count the grays on my head?
I'm going to come to Geeta's defense and show you a thing. There's going to be some pushback coming from over here.
Oh, I don't think so.
Face.
I don't think there's going to be any pushback.
Oh, yeah, we don't operate like the Canucks. We are not relentless.
There's going to be pushback, and we're going to suspend you for 5 shows. You won't even be at that 200th episode, brother.
You got real tough, real quick.
See, that's the response I wanted from the Canucks on Saturday.
Well, what did I say? I said I would have kicked, come with the pushback, but I don't know. I have trouble. It was a weird injury, and I would like to see the NHL doing more of the punishing than the other teams.
That's fair.
In the end, I think that'll do far more to protect young, small players than more violence.
Well, a little bit of violence just to counteract that existing. It's like a forest fire. You fight it with more fire. And
I thought that's what we talked about not doing.
Wait,
You're
what?
supposed to do that in advance of the fire.
Not fighting fire with...
Advanced fire, so preseason fights. Send the message to them.
No, it's just putting up a front of potential violence, but not actually going through with it.
Just
hard hitting.
Just scaring them and
getting
giving them
in faces.
bulletin board material
Scare
and then
them
not
before,
following through.
Scare them before they commit the act of violence on your rookie.
Oh, like what you do with children.
Who does this to children?
So you just do it with kids.
Fear of God?
You put the fear of God in children.
Wow. I don't even know what I've started here. I am sorry, listeners.
Back to bulletin board material, because I have an interesting... That's a very good segue. Lars Eller has become bulletin board material again, because after I
feel like you should never be bulletin board material again.
I guess he wasn't the first time because he got beat up with that forest fire mentality. But he made quite the name for himself on the first game of the regular season when he was hot dogging and gloating in front of the Bruins bench, and Brad Marchand decided to take care of business in his own accord.
Right.
Whether you agree with it or not, that's not the point. And we thought, oh man, poor Lars Eller. And now this week, after the Washington Capitals lost to the Toronto Maple Leafs, which was set to be their big test of the season, because they've been playing a lot of Canadians and a lot of Senators, and how good is this team really? Lars Eller was like, yeah, they're okay, I guess, but we're used to playing real teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins with real players like Gino and Crosby. And I'm paraphrasing greatly. But that's the bulletin board material, as that's what Nazem Kadri proclaimed it as, was this week.
Yeah.
But then I was watching the Kings play the Maple Leafs tonight, which the Maple Leafs won again 4-1, and they interviewed Drew Doughty, because the last time he was in Toronto, they like to talk to him because he's from the area, hometown guy.
Okay.
And last year he's like, they're a good team, but they need defense. They need to have better defense. Defense wins championships.
What is he trying to do? Get a job in Toronto?
Oh shit. That makes a lot more sense. Cue this year, and they ask him the same thing, and he's like, "What did I tell you last year? They're not that good. Like, you need defense. They don't have a good defense. That wins championships." So it's like Lars Eller can say that, can't say that, but Drew Doughty can come in with no teeth and a hobo beard saying it. Like, bit of a double standard, I thought, this week. I didn't put this on the rundown. It's just something I observed today, so I couldn't really have a follow-along for you
I feel like you can build up a little bit of street cred in the NHL where you can sort of say stuff like that if you're a Drew Doughty or
you've got a Stanley Cup ring.
Interesting, though, some guys can. Some PK Subban right on par, depending on who you ask. I would say so, though, with Doughty.
Yeah.
But no rings. He gets the
in
short
trouble
end.
for saying stuff. And I still think, there is value to having Stanley Cup rings, but a lot of great players didn't.
Hey, Sid, how about some mouthwash? That son of a bitch. That is not funny.
There's no joking
never
about it.
Never use language like that.
Son of a gun.
Filthy. I know there's
that mean man.
I know there's with the whole West Coast bias and everybody hates the Toronto Sports Network and it's all Leafs this and John Tavares that.
I mean, I don't.
I mean, that's why everyone was mad about that Eric Francis tweet because it started with "No Leafs Radio" or whatever he calls himself.
I know. And then
okay,
all right. Well, I mean, the Flames are really good. I don't know why you'd have to promote that, but they're playing amazing hockey and they are setting very strange records that I didn't think would be broken. And Austin Matthews has 10 goals in 6 games now, through 7 games, and it's amazing to watch.
And there's only the list of people who have done that is very small and very prominent.
Oh, for which
10 goals in 6 games or whatever.
Oh yeah, it was Mike Bossy and it was Bobby Hull and I believe Mario Lemieux in the late 80s, and they showed that stat tonight, and it's mind-boggling. And you watch this team play. And they somehow keep getting power plays like it's just an embarrassment of riches where the other team is on 50 penalties and it's like, all right, well, let's watch them tee it up again this time.
Right.
And their young defense is proving to be as strong as ever this season. There's so many youngsters. You're bound to see some big steps forward now in the coming years. They might benefit from another more defensive defenseman or two in that core, but a lot of these guys like Gardner or
Morgan Riley.
Looking great. Morgan
they
Riley's
also
looking
can't keep going at this rate.
No, and it's like we really want, like we said last week, like we're watching fire wagon 80s hockey where it's everybody's scoring 4 goals a game, and it's gonna calm down and it's gonna set. But I don't know, I don't know what that'll look like because they just look so scary. That power play and just the way they score goals and the way they play. And you know that Mike Babcock, who's a defensive, structurally sound man from Saskatchewan that doesn't like anything exciting, he's probably pulling his hair out watching them win these 7-6 games but I mean, they're winning games. It's just incredible to watch. And if you can complain about the bias of coverage if that's how you feel, but if you're just a fan of exciting hockey, holy crap. It's delightful.
Yeah, I'm not one of those guys that grew up, I hate the Leafs.
No, me neither.
I had times where I didn't like certain lineups that Toronto iced when they had a lot of questionable players in the lineup when Brian Marchment's are suiting up.
I was just going to say Brian.
Ed Belfour and the likes. There were some big characters that did some questionable things in those days. So there was that. But right now, they're a lot of fun to watch, and I do get that they get more media attention probably than any other Canadian team because they probably have debatably the largest fan base, but they're from the largest city in the country, so
Dave,
we all have to deal with that.
Look at Dave. He's been to 45 OHL rinks and NHL rinks in 3 weeks of being there. Hockey is just...
but there's one beside every Tim Hortons.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of Tim Hortons and a lot of hockey rinks.
Did you guys see the new Tim Hortons commercial or whatever they're calling it, where they bring over the team from overseas who doesn't have any... Where are they from?
Kenya.
Yeah.
No, but this sounds like it's going to make me cry.
Oh, jeez.
You will when you see it. But they bring them up. They're the only team in the country. They have them play against, I don't know, a beer league team or something from Canada. They make them up these jerseys with their names and numbers on the back.
I'm not going to spoil it. I'm just going to add some suspense. But wait a minute, Geeta. The Kenyans don't have enough gear, and they don't have enough players.
Of course they don't.
To take on the beer league team. It's Dave's beer league team. And so who helps them out?
Well, you should probably just go online. Oh, we're giving Tim Hortons a plug. But yes, they get 2 players join their lineup, Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon, the little boy in the backseat of the Zamboni in the other commercial.
Oh, he's adorable. He's like hand hockey cards.
Don't forget the hockey cards, Dad. I mean, Sid.
Nathan McKinnon, he's great.
He's really great.
So the 2 of them join the team wearing their jerseys. They're called the Lions, I think I want to say.
Yeah, there's some type of logo. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Anyway, but
it's a sweet. It's
they
a very
throw on
sweet
the
promotion.
jerseys, and it's we're giving them a free plug on the show, even though I don't really do Tim Hortons that often anymore. But
well, it's okay. I do every day.
there you go.
Listen,
Yeah,
and let me
it's
just
worth
say
watching.
this: the beer league team beat the Kenyans.
Oh.
Because Sidney Crosby kept taking too many unsportsmanlike penalties. John in front of the net.
Kept getting into those scrums and not backing it up. Is that it? Yeah?
Oh,
There wasn't enough pushback from his teammates. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't think they showed the score, but
There was an interesting thing that happened this week on Saturday, and when we did the Pucks on Net 10 2 weeks ago, there were 7, I think 6 or 7 of them were Canadian teams because they were all going to be really bad. No,
Okay.
it was like 5 or 6, and for the most part,
How many Canadian teams are there?
14.
Okay.
Kamloops, Metropolitans, Red Deer,
Renegades,
Newfoundland Growlers, Quebec City Waz, spelled with an R, Toronto Markham Ticats, and Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Okay.
Yeah.
the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They moved them. There's 2 teams in Ottawa now.
Well, it's the Ottawa Rough
Because they built
Riders.
another arena in Ottawa.
Yeah, that's right.
They put an expansion team.
So I don't listen. I go through and I make the notes on a Sunday night,
Yeah.
and these are accurate. This is accurate
And we don't
notes.
look at them till Monday
They're-
evening.
They're truthful notes. So if nobody doubt me and correct me that there aren't 14 Canadian teams in the league, I know Paul might, but it's just true.
Gonna quit this podcast.
You can't. You got nothing else to do.
I'll find something to do, Ryan.
You'll devote a lot more time to the Matt Duchesne fan club.
I had a question.
Again,
Paul
I don't
is
know why I
going to
keep
quit
going.
mid-podcast at some point.
That's how he goes. But then he won't be able to get across your coffee table on an angle here. He won't be able to exit, so he will just stand
No,
there.
that's when you're gonna get your pushback, Ryan. Just gonna push you right over.
Oh my god. I don't know why I wanted to talk about that at all. Carolina Hurricanes are actually really good this year.
Okay,
They finally lost last night. Hey, what do you think? Did anybody see the Jets-Canes game?
Did not catch it.
They wore their new jerseys, the Winnipeg Jets.
This is
Okay.
Canadian Tire specials.
They look like
What did they look like?
they look like a Canadian Tire jersey. They kind of look like a
Oh.
Regina Pats jersey.
Okay, yeah.
Just handwritten Jets across the front.
Yeah, okay.
And
They're
it's-
not bad looking jerseys. They're just very
plain.
simple.
They look like something you create in NHL 18 or 19, whatever you're playing.
I like them way better than a lot of the over the top, like busy jerseys that
Right.
are out there.
Calgary Flames.
I just feel like there's so many good options for the Jets. I even like just the little Jet logo from the old logo. One of the, what is that, the 80s logo, I guess? Just the little circle with the Jet in it.
Yeah.
Play that up or something. Like, I don't know.
I think they want to steer far clear of their the old version, which isn't the Coyotes.
Yeah, because it's a different franchise, technically. I get ya.
I get it.
It's like Star Trek. The rights have been sold to other companies, so the new Star Trek looks nothing like the old Star Trek because merchandise they want to sell.
Everybody knows that
Yeah.
with Luke Skywalker and stuff.
Okay.
Carolina Hurricanes are very good.
Are they?
They're 4-1-1 to start the year. I wrote down some notes here. Oh, Sebastian Aho has 10 points. And Justin Williams, he's got 7 points.
Okay.
And they have no goalies in
But
Carolina.
Depends on who you
really
ask.
Don't need them.
They have Curtis McElhaney, who his Twitter bio, I think you'll all like this. He was picked up off waivers from the Toronto Maple Leafs last week.
Right.
And then he was acquired from Columbus the previous year, I believe.
Okay.
But his Twitter account his Twitter bio just says professional goalie for whoever needs me. Currently the Carolina Hurricanes. And I really quite like that.
A lot of people weren't happy that the Leafs waived him.
Yeah.
They had 4 goalies that were sort of almost on par with one another. I mean, Anderson's probably still
Right.
considered a step above them, but lost their 3rd and 4th string goalies in one day.
Yeah, and what
Wait, so they have
Pickard went to
2 goalies.
the Flyers, yeah.
Yeah, Calvin Picker went. They put. Yeah, Garrett Sparks is going to be their backup.
Picard?
Well, it depends on what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Garrett Sparks has a really good name.
Mm-hmm. And he used to play for a really good team name, the Orlando Solar Bears, which are now the Newfoundland Growlers.
As far as the Carolina Hurricanes being great, I don't want to say they're not great, but 2 of those victories have come against the sad sack Vancouver Canucks and New York Rangers, who neither are really at the top of their game.
I mean, Vancouver is playing as good as they are going to play all season long.
If they score 2 goals in a game, bravo, guys! Holy cow!
Yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about. That is a good Canucks team right this second.
I'd just like to see a bigger sample size. They barely beat the Minnesota Wild. That was an overtime or a shootout one.
Well,
the season is so young.
Well, the main reason I bring this up is that there's been a running joke on and off the air with this show that we never mention the Carolina Hurricanes.
We're going to talk about them all the time. Dougie Hamilton plays on the Jason Spezza Lovers.
Svechnikov kid looks pretty good. He's part of this wave of rookies that are fantastic as long as goons aren't allowed to take him out of the league for a few weeks at a time.
Yeah, well, but the main reason I wanted to bring them up was one, because we never talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. They could play in the IHL for all we care.
They play in Carolina for all we care.
And the other thing is they have an exciting new way to celebrate wins.
Oh, do they now?
And it was started not by these young Fortnite-playing punks from Scandinavia, but from the grizzled veteran captain known as Justin Game 7 Williams.
Okay.
And what they do, I don't know if you've seen this, Geeta, which I will try to explain with one hand. They all line up along the center line.
And they do the haka?
Kind of. But in a long straight line, they do a slow clap.
Isn't it a Viking clap?
Kind of like a Viking clap.
Becoming overdone so quickly.
Yeah. So they do a really slow, like a Viking clap. They're all in one long line across the center line. And then when they reach a certain point, the captain, Grandpa Justin, leads them, and they skate full bore towards
That's not true. They skate. They don't skate full bore.
For the sake of this...
for the dramatics.
Jesus H. For a guy that loves science fiction, you can't just let me put some pageantry into this. They start skating as fast as humanly possible. It's like Connor McDavid and Dylan Larkin in the finals of the fastest skater competition in the All-Star game. Then, at maximum speed, at the most dangerous of times following this victory, they all jump onto the glass like they had just scored at the World Juniors in Regina, Saskatchewan, and then the fans all cheer and they skate off.
Someone's gonna get hurt.
Well, they're not.
Oh, that's just in, folks. The entire starting lineup from the Carolina Hurricanes have dislocated their right shoulder exactly in the same place. The farm team will entirely be called up for the next match.
Except for Dougie Hamilton, who was not skating too hard because he had a museum to visit the next morning.
He was reading a book or something while he did it. Or he was smart enough to know you don't skate full bore and jump into the boards.
But it's a fun little thing, and that's, we don't have a lot of fun in this league.
Right.
If the National Hockey League was a city, it'd be Vancouver, because this is no fun city. And despite, I like how everybody every member of the media, young and old, was loving was loving when the Blackhawks played the Maple Leafs a couple last weekend.
Right.
And they were dueling goals and Austin Matthews did a celebration. He put his glove up to his ear like Hulk Hogan, and then the grizzled vet, Pat Kane, did the exact same thing, saying, "Not so fast, kid." And it was great, and literally everybody loved it. And then cut Coach's Corner on Saturday, and Don's like, "What are you doing? Oh my God, I love you, but this is out of line."
I didn't get that segment because he had the two where he put his hand up to his ear, and then he was back to loving him because he's like, no, they're experienced gold scores.
His dad told him. His dad probably got in his ear and said, The best thing is right before the clip or right after, it showed him in the '93 finals with what was that guy's name?
The Conehead?
He's wearing the Conehead, but he was talking about a certain Canadian.
Oh, Lyle Odeline.
Lyle Odeline. And which is a great clip, but it's just come on. You don't have any sense to connect that with this. Quit making a fool of yourself. Hang on, let me glue this oversized pointy condom on my head and tell Lyle Odeline he's doing a great job. Come on.
Hey, if Don Cherry is good at doing something, it's not being,
self-aware,
into pageantry or over-the-top expressions.
Brian Burke's going to take his job by Christmas.
Dougie Hamilton's stat came out the other day. I don't know if it's still up to date based on the last game or two. Most consecutive games by a player with a shot on goal. Dougie Hamilton.
Is that active players?
It's probably active streaks.
Okay, because I think I know what you're talking about.
The defensive one says active streaks only.
Okay.
But yeah, 168 for Dougie Hamilton. Second, Taylor Hall with only 96. And as far as defensemen, Torrey Krug is second with 34. Like the dude's smart. You go to the museum, you learn things, you go to the rink, you learn how to get your shots on net, your pucks on net.
Okay, you do.
Don't cut that into the opening. But anyway, give Dougie Hamilton and the Carolina Hurricanes one final shout out. And I did while I was in Winnipeg. When I was out in Winnipeg, I met the one Carolina Hurricane fan that lives outside of Raleigh, and he was so excited.
They don't live in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Where do they live now?
Really, probably that one fan in Winnipeg.
That's the guy.
Oh, that's their one fan.
That's their one fan.
But he said they were going to have a really good year, and he was excited about this new owner everyone's had questions about because they have pregame tailgate parties now, and that's going to make all the difference. It's all about culture.
Rod Brendamore's out there getting drunk before a game?
I guess he's barbecuing with the boys out back.
That's one thing we forgot to bring up when we had our strict no Carolina Hurricanes rule, was that they're like, hey, let's just make Rod Brendamore the coach. It's like, is he good? Well, has he coached any NHL games before? No. What's the worst that could happen? And he's, and it's just, can you connect? Can you send a message? Can you make all your assistant coaches do all the X's and O's, and then you'll be fine.
Let's see where they are after game 82. I'm going to wait and see. I like a lot of their players. I like what I've seen so far. I just feel like they need to play some better competition.
They look fine in game 5.
Exactly. Hey, if you want to watch something really cringy, I highly recommend. If you don't want to have an appetite, you bring up a highlight from the Canadiens versus the Penguins of Pittsburgh, and you can watch Justin Schultz fracture his ankle.
Oh no!
And it goes the other way, and he's out about 4 months or so.
That is too bad.
Yeah, and so now who's playing, it's Chris Letang and anybody playing defense in Pittsburgh.
That's kind of how it's been for the last few years in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna doubt that.
They'll be fine.
And other injuries is Paul Stastny is going to be out for 2 months in Vegas.
Oh.
And he didn't even play, I don't think.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, and then it's like, it's a timeline, it's going to be a couple games, and they're like, ooh, it's a lot of games.
Yeah. Have they won a game yet? I haven't looked at
I think they have won a game.
It's not as hot a start as they came out with out of the gate last year.
Well, last year was an anomaly where they just always won. They were always the fastest, most dangerous blitzkrieg-like team. If we're talking about World War II military exercises,
bring up.
Take a drink every time. This is the second drink. They're like a blitzkrieg. Everybody moved as one unit in all zones. It was very impressive.
And this year they're just a bop.
People have figured things out. Their record is...
The other thing, and as Geeta looks this up...
2-4-0.
Okay, so they got 2 wins. I believe they're all road wins. But they also had every goalie got hurt. They had a Kamloops Blazer start and somehow win.
Right.
And there was magic in the air, in that Vegas air that night. And it wasn't just the oxygen that they pumped into the casinos. It's got to be an anomaly. But this is my favorite. This is my favorite stat because I strongly dislike the cheesiness of the Golden Knights and this band. But the Vegas Golden Knights at the time, I don't know if they've won at home this year, but they have gone 8 straight games without a regulation win since letting Imagine Dragons play on the ice before a game.
Oh, jeez.
And that must be the reason for these losses.
Well, I mean, have you seen Imagine Dragons?
No, I've not seen them live.
Well, I saw them 5 years ago, and they were great.
Oh, right.
And then they just let me down every single time since. So, now you know.
People are expecting more from the Golden Knights this year, and they're preparing a little more carefully going into those games.
Yeah.
That might have a little... And they're not going to the casino the night before.
No,
they did that last year.
We're going to go to bed and be smart about it.
Dougie Hamilton's been having an influence on this league. Things are going to get better and smarter.
There are a lot of museums in Vegas.
Are there?
I know
like wax museums?
Cool.
And they have the neon signage museum. I know that.
Okay.
Everybody Instagrams that.
You could probably go to like a Cirque du Soleil show.
Or a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
The guy with the long fingernails is there.
It's getting a little rowdy. That's not a good night before a game activity, guys.
One more impressive stat about the Leafs, and in particular Morgan Riley. He matches Bobby Orr's 1973 record for the best 5-game start by an NHL D-man in the modern era with 11 points.
It's a pretty good start.
Okay.
Pretty darn good start.
Looking like Sebastian Aho out there. 11 points.
And on the suspension update, Tom Wilson officially appealed his 20-game suspension with the NHLPA, and he will have his hearing on Thursday.
What did Tom Wilson do?
He did
lots of things. That's part of the problem.
Oh.
He got 20 games partly because of just his history of being dangerous and thoughtless.
He was suspended 3 times last year, twice in the preseason, and then once in the playoffs.
Okay.
And so he got suspended in the preseason again, but it was just like, hey, we've read this book before.
Yeah.
Let's try and fix it.
All right.
I don't think his suspension would go down that much.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to go to an independent arbitrator like Austin Watson, because he was suspended for 27 games for a domestic violence incident in the summer. And that was reduced for down to 18 games.
Okay, because this is the one I read where Watson's girlfriend is taking the blame for what happened.
It doesn't. She released a statement, and it, like, you know what? And the optimist in me hopes that it was just a very big misunderstanding, but it just paints that other picture of a victim saying the door you weren't hit. You know, you fell into the doorknob.
Yeah.
Some mild Stockholm syndrome. Almost.
Yeah, and claiming she's an alcoholic, and it's a tough statement. And you know what? And I'm just saying, I'm the eternal optimist. I'm skeptical about it because you know what. Yeah. The situation and that picture, the picture that's been painted. But in my mind, I'm like, I hope that this is the case, and it wasn't. You know, nobody is being a victim of domestic abuse, but it's a skeptical release to come out now and not in June. That's it's strange. If it was just a big misunderstanding, where was it now? And now that the independent arbitrator, who the NHL is not happy that the independent arbitrator has reduced it.
Right.
He reduces it, and now all of a sudden, it was just a big misunderstanding. Sorry, Predators and City of Nashville and NHL.
Well, I think this is coming out like that was part of why things were reduced.
Again, I'm just hoping that everything is accurate and it's not a bad situation.
Someone trying to cover for somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's something, we talk about all the things that happen on the ice and potential for maybe some more penalties, suspensions in regard to those things because we're worried about people's safety and that's good progress to be made. But the off the ice stuff like this is
something
next
we
level.
Can't really talk about because we don't really fully comprehend what's happened in the reality of the situation and the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks, and I'm not saying that one league is better than the other, or are the NHL's domestic violence situations.
No, really, every league fucks up.
It's terrible across the board. It's nice to see that the NHL went, as soon as this became a situation, that they went hard and laid down the law, and you're suspended indefinitely until further notice. And then you see problems in Major League Baseball where Roberto.
The thing, like, if it's a really like touchy, sensitive topic, but I mean, if he was a superstar in the league, it's viewed differently in other leagues. I mean, people are so quick to forgive.
Yeah. But, I mean, it just made me sick when you see...
This is someone I don't even know.
A depth defenseman or forward for the Nashville Predators, household name. Come on.
I mean, Ben Roethlisberger's still playing.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's the type of situation I would have liked to see him just say, you know what? Whether there is more to the story than what was initially reported, he should have just taken the punishment and publicly stated,
it just
however this went down, it was wrong and it will never happen again.
Yeah.
And they're going to counseling or whatever. Just like make amends as best as you can after.
Mm-hmm.
It was in LA, right? It was Varlamov?
Varlamov was the one that he just Simeon
he got escorted right out of the league.
Slava Voyanov. That was him. Simeon Varlamov was something that it was a no contest or something along those lines. But this Austin Watson thing, it just reeks of legal BS.
Okay.
And as opposed to just somebody taking their punishment and facing the consequences. And I just don't care for it. Mm-mm. So that was a good, light, positive note to wrap the podcast. Oh, I have some questions. So we'll try and bring some here. Oh, I have a question, actually, for all of you. A non-hockey question. That's a great question. That's from great Twitter name, Buck Foston, RD. Why can't we have nice things? And I believe he is speaking about the Vancouver Canucks. This is do
we appreciate the nice things we have?
No, we are. If we were a White Snake song, we would be "Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone." We are a complainy, negative fan base, and that's because it's been like our families hated the Canucks, and their families hated the Canucks, but loved them begrudgingly because they had to. It's a cursed franchise since they got Dale Talon. Was it Marcel Dion?
No, Gilles.
I always mix those two guys up. And it's just a cursed franchise. And it's always going to be a cursed franchise. And people, anytime anything remotely bad happens, you blame it on the curse. And that's what being a Canucks fan is all about. We're like Cleveland Browns fans or Seattle Mariners fans. Ooh, right. I spend a lot of time watching. So, I mean, that's why we can't have nice things, because we don't appreciate the things we have, and then they're gone and they go to Orange County.
Yeah.
Nathan Yakic, hope I'm pronouncing that right, goes, if you could change one thing about the NHL, what would it be? It could be a rule, a new way to enforce something, the removal of annoying franchises, etc. And this is one that I really quite liked, and I was wondering if you guys had anything that you would like to remove from the NHL.
I mean, going on today's topic, I would like to see remove or just change?
Change.
I agree with Paul.
I would say I would like to see more intentionally violent, intent to injure type of things be punished. Change the rules, because even when we saw the hit, it's like, well, what do you call that? It's not quite boarding, roughing, I guess. Increase the penalties in the game, but also increase the suspensions, because I know it's been, that should be only worth this based on what's happened previously in the NHL. We should just wipe the slate, up the game, make the players suffer to a point where they'll actually feel it. Because if you suspend a guy for a game or two, or you fine him $10,000, he's not going to notice that money out of his pocket. Game or two just gives him a bit of a break. A lot of them, they're not going to be happy about it, but they're not really going to be thinking about it when they go in to make that Matheson move on Pettersson. If you start suspending guys 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games first time, it will seem a little steep, but you're going to have guys going, this is going to be a clean hit. I'm going to finish this hit. You're going to train guys to think about it. I wouldn't mind seeing some steeper penalties like that. I don't mind hitting in the game, a little bit of pushing and shoving, but as soon as you see guys out there purposely trying to injure other guys, I'd like to see that changed. The other thing I always complain about is the overtime lost points.
Okay.
Don't reward losing. 2 points, no loser points. We've got the shootout now, so you don't have any ties.
No losers, only winners. Winners win. That's what winners do.
Do you want them to bring back the tie?
No. You can still keep the shootout, whatever. I'm used to that now. But just like 2 points for the win, even in the shootout, none for the loss.
And
it's
if
a little
they did,
strong,
everybody would be so nostalgic for it and so excited about it. Yeah.
Let's go home, guys. Nobody won. It just kind of ended.
I can say
5-minute overtime and tie, yeah.
I was at a 0-0 tie for the Canucks and Sharks, I think it was, back in the day. And
Capitals.
Yeah, I was at a Canucks Columbus shootout that wouldn't end.
That's exciting, Geeta. At the end of a 0-0 tie, you go, as a hockey nerd, well, that doesn't happen very often. I guess that's cool I was here. And you also go, I didn't get to stand up once all night for anything, and I'm too poor to come to any other games this season. So,
Okay.
I'm okay with keeping ties out of the game.
All right, fun loving question here. Geeta, what would you change about the league?
Good Lord. I said I agree with Paul. But I don't know if that'll ever go away. That intentional dirty behavior, because those are the types of people that they let into the league somehow.
Speaking of that, I have two. I have two things I'd change. Number one, I would abolish the NHL awards show.
I mean, it's gotten real shitty these days.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be fun.
I would.
Was it?
No, it was
when I was little.
But I didn't know any better. Like, I enjoyed it.
There's Jaromir Jagr. He's getting the Rocket Richard trophy.
There were fun little bits. There was no Rocket Richard trophy.
There you go. Jeez. Learned Geeta. And I don't know. I think
Baby of the podcast over here, host Ryan.
It's okay. I've been around since the original six. This is my Daryl Sittler jersey.
And I would have Scott Stevens removed from the Hall of Fame. And every time they mentioned his name, every time they mentioned his name, they couldn't show glory.
See, he was one of those people with the dirty hits.
Exactly. And I would say you can't every time. It would be like how they're removing the John A. McDonald statue because of all the bad things he did with. There's good things he did and really, really bad things he did. The same should apply for guys like Scott Stevens.
No, they're apologizing. They have to restore those statues.
Well, we can fine. He can stay in the Hall of Fame, but he has to have a little write-up about what an asshole he is. An asshole asterisk. And
I mean, Lindros got into the Hall of Fame too. It's not like they're side by side.
Well,
Are you sure? I haven't been.
I want an asshole asterisk for players that are that ruin the careers of other players, and that's what I want.
Can I throw out a question? How would Scott Stevens fare in the game today if he's not allowed to throw blindside hits like he did? I still think he's effective, but is he the impact Hall of Fame player?
55 years old.
I don't know about a 55-year-old making any team, let alone the New Jersey Devils.
In his prime, I always like to bring this up because you go like in their prime, players from the 1950s and 60s.
You know who?
How would they match up against the fitness level that we see in the game today? Yes, they had the creativity, but
you know who he would be? He'd be like Eric Goodbranson, really big guy that can't really be violent or effective physically, and he's not that good otherwise.
Okay, he's okay.
He's not a game.
I feel like Scott Stevens would be better than that, but would he be that much better? Like he'd be a good maybe second pairing guy in a different era.
That was right for him.
Oh yeah,
that was
100%.
There you go.
That was a pig and slop right there.
Yeah.
The 90s were lockdown, big players allowed to obstruct anyone anyhow, and that was what made him effective. And to his credit, he and that generation of defensemen did what they were allowed to do.
Yeah.
It's asshole asterisks. That's all I ask.
So all the defensemen, tough defensemen from the 90s in the Hall of Fame.
The ass and asterisks.
Yes, I want that. And I think that was it. Wine Country Boy Kevin, he asks anything special in store for the big 200.
We don't know yet.
Cellophane balloons that say 200. Oh, that's going to be on Sunday, by the way, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday?
You have a Monday game against the Tom Wilson-less Washington Capitals.
Oh yeah, we got all these East Coast teams coming up. I gotta
next 2 Mondays.
Use some flashcards to remember the faces of everyone be on the top lines.
Is Tom Wilson here? Where'd he go?
Are you Tom Wilson? I'm Alex Ovechkin.
And Mills, he asked a whole bunch of questions. I think we touched on them all in the show. Are the Canes legit? We don't know.
Nah.
How is MTL? How is Montreal good? They're playing with. They got pride on their side, and that's about it. And can the Leafs sustain it? We already said that. We're not that sure. And he said, why is Canucks Nation so irate over a hockey, in brackets, tad over the top hit? And we're all in agreement that it's not a hockey hit. And if Danny Carcillo, of all people, is telling you it's a dirty hit, that's the benchmark.
You watch it a few more times. The first time I watched it, I was going, oh, that's not nearly as bad as it sounded on the radio. And I heard the post-game when everyone was losing their minds.
Dear God, will somebody stop the damn match?
But when you watch it again a few more times, you see, there's a can opener there. There's definitely intention on the push where it's not about getting him off the puck. It's about slamming this kid down as hard as possible after he got embarrassed a couple of times. Pettersson drove him into the boards earlier when he was off balance.
Murph went back. Dan Murphy, in his detective skills on social media this week, was really impressive because I think there was a play I saw, And it was a little slew footy from Pettersson.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did the undressing, and a naked Mike Matheson, or whatever his name is, laid him out out of anger and embarrassment.
Was that him swimming at the Shark Tank in Toronto?
That was him.
That was the naked swimmer in the Shark
Well,
Tank?
Elias Pettersson just undressed him.
And Matheson still hasn't found his jock. He's out for a swim
Okay,
in
you
Toronto.
guys.
No?
Jeremy Roenick's helping him look for it. Now is the fun part of the show where I talk to myself, because we're going to wrap up the show now.
Okay.
And we're going to go into 5 minutes for paying. And I have a very important question that I'm going to say on the show now and ask you, because I jumped on a trampoline for the first time in 10 years on Thanksgiving. And I didn't have a trampoline growing up. And there is a big difference in personalities with people that did or didn't. So we won't ask it now, because this is what we call a teaser.
Wait, neither of us had trampolines.
God damn it. Now what are we going to talk about? So we're all going to be on the same page here. So go and listen to 5 Minutes for Paying, and we're going to talk about week one. Geeta's just taking her headphones out.
Keep talking. I'm just running to my purse.
Geeta's going to her purse to get a Scotch mint. And we're going to talk
portable
about
trampoline.
week one in the Pucks on Net Fantasy League, where I've learned that I've been shamed. But we want to thank you for listening, and we want you to, as always, follow us on Twitter at PucksOnNetCA or PucksOnNetCA. And the best way to support the show is monetarily. Well, that's not true, but we encourage you, if you want to pledge a couple of bucks and get some bonus content and interact with us in a different way, head on over to patreon.com/pucksonnet. $5 will get you instant access to all our previous bonus content. And that's, great way to help cover the bills. And if you don't want to support the show monetarily, if you don't want to pledge a couple of bucks, you don't have to. Just go out. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, please go to the iTunes Store or Apple Podcasts app and leave a positive rating and a positive review, 5 stars. Maybe something clever about how fun the show is and how you listen when you're on the bus or you're on your way to jury duty for less than exciting traffic crime. Wherever you listen to the show, just write about it. I don't know where people listen.
Okay.
Maybe they're waiting for a ferry or a steamship to go by on a raised bridge in Vermont. We don't know. But we thank you for listening.
Playing it on the PA in your place of business.
That's what we want. Yeah, if you work at a Hot Topic in the greater SeaTac area and you're a fan, play it at the if you work there, wherever you work in a retail place, just please play it. And
in the Green Bay Packers locker room.
Bars, play it in bars.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh, this is a good song. Oh, what the fuck's all this?
Talking.
Wow, what the fuck? That's the best way to support the show. iTunes reviews, tell a friend. Word of mouth's the best. And we'll go into 5 Minutes for Paying, which is available to just the Pucks on Net faithful on Patreon.
So if you pay a couple of bucks, don't do that.
This is that's what Geeta's thinking.
No, if you pay, then you can listen to us talk about how we all grew up without trampolines, and we're clearly a different class of people than those who did.
Oh yeah, very different people. It's like the Ryan Smiths and the Geetas and the rest of the people.
Move,